Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome back to my channel. Back with a video on GNU radio, and in this video we're going to look at some of the hardware impairments that we normally encounter when we're trying to do a transmission and reception using our software-defined radio. Basically, these hardware impairments, which includes like phase noise, IQ magnitude imbalance, IQ phase imbalance, and things like that, and they actually affect your signal quality, noise level, and your spectral purity. So this is generally happens during transmission and reception due to the platform that you're using, which could be a USRP or HackRF and things like that. So we're going to actually visualize these impurities, different type of hardware impairments, which actually decays the performance of my transmission and reception. The flow graph is quite simple. It's actually, you have a signal source. We're using a signal source, which is just a cosine source. We're also going to look at some intermodulation product that actually takes place. So in order for me to actually demonstrate that we're using two different sources, two different cosine sources plus noise source as well. So we're basically adding them up as going into a throttle block. So think of this as being frequency 1 and frequency 2. And when we are performing a two-tone testing using VNA, we're exactly doing the same thing to show you the intermodulation product that actually gets generated. And your receiver might think of those product as being an actual signal, but those are not actual signals. So we're also going to look at that. So every single source that you're seeing right now, both of them are cosine sources. Of course, they have these frequency component as well, which are being controlled by these GUI sliders or GUI range sliders. We're looking at amplitude with respect to power and things like that in terms of dB. So that's why you have power 10 signal amplitude divided by 20 and things like that. All of these three are being added together, is going into a throttle block, since we're doing only the simulation process, and then is going into a block which is available in GNU radio, which is called hardware impairment block, with different components in it. So for example, you have your IQ magnitude imbalance, phase noise magnitude, IQ phase imbalance, quadrature offset, IQ offsets, and then frequency offsets, plus two other components, which is second order distortion, which is being controlled by this variable called gamma, and third order distortion, which is being controlled by beta. So in order for me to show you the effect of this, we're going to actually change one of these components one at a time while my simulation is running, so we can see the effect of that clearly on my flow graph, so you would understand what these hardware impairments do during transmission and reception. So having that said, let's click OK. And then is going into these hardware impairments, is going into a block called amplitude imbalance, and then you also have phase balance, and then is going into a frequency sync. Everything that you see that is underlying GNU radio can be controlled by a slider, range slider block. That's why anything that is underlying, you can use a range slider block, so you can simultaneously change these values during runtime. So for example, gamma is actually depicting IP2, which is second order modulation, that is going from 0 to -1, minus 0.1, and going from 0 to 0.001. That's the step size. This is the stopping and starting from -1 with a step size of 0.001. Same thing goes to beta value, which is actually showing your third order modulation point, IP3s. Same values, you can use that. So I'm just calling this a beta value. Then you also have these checkboxes that is allow me to actually have a Boolean operation of true and false. So if I want to look at two-tone operation, I can do that. And let me just simply run the simulation and show you what that is, and I can share this flow graph with you, so you can also look at it yourself as well. So just run this simulation. So right now you're just seeing only one signal. That signal is, I believe, is controlled by this slider. This is the slider that is controlling it. F2 has no effect. So F2 has no effect. We're looking at single tone at a time. Now, whenever we're testing your amplifier and things like that, you always are interested in your IP3s and IP2s. So let's do a two-tone test. Enable this so I can change both of these frequencies. So let's do some number. Let's change this frequency to 4500. as being your F1. Let's hit enter, and let's change this to 3500. Right, so we have these two components which are present. So now let's try to change this frequency one at a time. So this is the maximum signal amplitude that is available, which is 0 dB, because everything is in dB now. Because I have changed this in my flow graph as well, because it's in the form of a dB. That's why I'm using an import operation to import power function. Now the first component that you should see is actually your component, which is 4500. This is what we're seeing right now, and you will also see 3500 as well. This is also the other component that you would see that is there. So right now everything is good. This is just like a baseline. Nothing has changed. This is just basically a baseline signal that you should visualize in an ideal condition. Now let's start changing these parameters one at a time. So let's try to see the effect of phase noise. What will be the effect of this phase noise? So let's try to change the magnitude of my phase. So this signal phase noise magnitude is below -100 dB. So we don't care about these signals because your signal is much higher. This is close to like -7.58 dB, and you have these spurious signal, false signal at somewhere around -100 dB, 101. Some of the component, the maximum signal is at about 101 dB. So you would see that these are the actual two signals that you are interested in. Now when I start increasing my noise, you would see the effect of these noise that just start increasing it, and let's just wait for the simulation to actually takes an effect on it. All right, now as you can see that your signal is becoming wider and wider. These things are gone now. No, noise floor is like somewhere around here. Noise floor is somewhere around -78 dB if you were to pick it up. So this is the effect of noise. But let's say what happens when your signal amplitude is very small. What will happen in terms of that? Your signal strength will go down now, and you will have your signal strength somewhere around -40 dB. So this is the basic effect of your noise. Now let's change this to very low noise, and let's increase our signal, because when I'm increasing signal, I also have these things also getting amplified as well. Because when I increase my signal to 0 dB, that's why you start seeing these spikes. But these spikes are very low, so it will hardly have any effect. And now let's try to look at your IQ magnitude imbalance. Let's change this to one at a time, and let's see what will be the effect of your IQ magnitude imbalance. So once I do that, once I change this, you would see that you will have the effect that your magnitude will have an effect like this, that it will automatically jump into a higher relative gain, and you will have like imperfect gain matching at your IQ channel, because you will have this will try to reduce your signal quality as well, because when you change this, let's say your hardware is actually performing this, you would see that these peaks are going to be continuously higher. Same thing, you won't see much of an effect of this IQ phase imbalance. Why? Because in my flow graph, this thing is blur out. So when I enable this and disable this, you will see a phase imbalance as well. Now the other two things that I'm really interested in is actually going to be your non-linearity distortion, which is your IP3s and IP2s. This is what I'm interested in. So let me have this IQ imbalance, phase imbalance to be 0, this thing to be 0, and let's see the effect of this IP2s and IP3s on my signal. Let's do one by one. Let's do the effect of IP3 first. Let's change this to any other value besides 0, because this is in an ideal condition. So let's change this to some value. Automatically I would start seeing the effect of that. Why? Because okay, this was the signal. You have your actual two signals. One is lying at 4500 and one was lying at 3500, which is my actual frequency. Now when I start introducing non-linearity, you will see that you start having these components as well. So what will be these components? These components are going to be a component which is 4500. You start seeing another component about 550, 5500. You will also have these component as well. Plus you will also start generating component like 2 times f1 plus and minus f2. So let's do this calculation. I have my calculator handy here. So 2 times f1, so 2 multiplied by f1, which is this 4500, and once I do that, and let's subtract f2 from it, because these are the inherent components. F2 is 3500. You will start seeing a component at 5500, and this is exactly what we're seeing, that I am seeing a component at 5500. You will also start seeing a component at 2 f2 plus and minus f1. So let's just also run this calculation as well, and you will also start seeing component at 3 times f1. So for example, 3 times f1, 3 times 4500, you will see a component at 1350. So 13.5 kilohertz. You will also see a component here, which is right here at 13.5 kilohertz. You'll also see a component at 3 times f2. You'll also see a component at 2 times f2 plus and minus f1. So let's do that calculation as well. So 2 times f2, which is 3500, minus f1, which is 4500. So at 2500, you will also see a component 2.5 kilohertz, and this is indeed, we're seeing a component at 2.5, and so on. So we start seeing these intermodulation product which is happening at IP3s. Now let's leave this, change this to 0. Let's have everything perfect. Now let's just start introducing IP2s. So let me just change this value to something else, and you will start seeing these components. So these components are going to be f1 plus f12. So this is this. So f1 plus f12 is going to be 4500 plus 3500. So let's do this calculation. 3500 plus 4500. You will see a component at 8 kilohertz. And okay, so this is the component at 8 kilohertz, and you will also see a component at negative frequencies as well, and then you will also see a component at 2 times f1. So 2 times f1 is 9 kilohertz. You will also see a component at 9 kilohertz. 2 times f2, which is 7 kilohertz. You will also see a component at 7 kilohertz. So that's what you'll start seeing when you have non-linearity effect. Let's say you have both IP3s and IP2s, both of them are active. What will happen? You will see a spectrum that looks something like this. Now, by looking at this spectrum, you would hardly find out which is going to be your actual signal. When you are trying to transmit that signal and when you're trying to receive that signal, the receiver will be lost. And this non-linearity basically comes from the component which are present in your hardware. For example, non-linear devices can be diode and transistors and things like that. So this is one of the effect that you would see. These are the hardware impairments that you would normally see in your simulation. And then the next thing is actually going to be your IQ offsets, which is going to be in phase and quadrature offsets. What basically they will introduce, they will actually have a imbalance in your mirror peaks. So for example, we have everything this to be 0. Let me just close this simulation and run it again, because I was seeing those spike, those were not going away. So just give me a minute. Let's run this quickly and add two-tone. And by introducing this, what this IQ does, it actually introduces something called DC leakage, which is basically the cause for this could be a component mismatch or LO leakage, or they would also cause second order modulation to second order distortion as well. So by changing this, you would start seeing some components which are rising as well. by changing the IQ offset, you will start seeing that these components are like, appearing, and you would see a possible spike at 0 as well, at DC as well. So for example, if this is 0, let me change this to 0, and let me change this to 0. You were not seeing that DC spike at 0. You were just seeing your component at 4500 and 3500. When you start increasing these IQ components, you automatically start seeing your DC components a spike at DC at 0 hertz, and this is at 0 hertz. So these are some of the hardware impairments that we normally encounter when we are trying to use software-defined radio uh, to actually do the transmission and reception. And some of these components, like for example your IQs and these hardwares generally uses a direct conversion receivers, and these problems are just there as part of that, uh, using the direct conversion receiver SDR receivers, which is based on direct conversion model. So I hope you find this video helpful and and interesting. If you need any help, leave it in a comment section. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section, and please don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and thanks for watching.